Really? All little pocket, what do they call them? Pocket bikes? 750?
Yeah.
Damn things beat to hell.
Johnny Waters' bike.
Oh, okay.
He rides the fucking shit out of it.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, fucking track. And
Holy crap, look at that exhaust.
Yeah, straight race.
That's nice.
Race.
All right, let's get this done. Marc Marquez wins his second race of the year 2014. I mean, it kind of makes me wonder about what's going on there. I mean, don't get me wrong, Marquez is a talented rider. But this is kind of the same sort of, it seems to me kind of like it's a repeat of the whole Rossi situation. Because like Rossi was contending that, you know, or people were saying, you know, oh, the only reason why Rossi's winning races is because of Honda. And as you folks know, some of you folks know who have been paying attention to what's been going on in GP, like Honda threatened to pull out of GP because of a change. I think it was in the electronic control unit's rules, and there's like this big to-do about it, and like Honda was like, yeah, you know what, we're done, and they threatened to pull out, and Dorna was like, because Dorna's the organization that basically owns the whole MotoGP franchise, and they were like, you know, so I'm just wondering, it just kind of makes me wonder, but one of the reasons why I'm liking MotoGP less and less is you got these really cool track stars. It's kind of like, you remember that show, what was it, Gladiators? In other words, it's like, and then they would put contestants up and try to get through this obstacle course and go through the Gladiator. It was American Gladiator, I think it was called, right? And so they had to, or the World Wrestling Federation. It kind of makes you wonder, you know, is MotoGP kind of in that same, you know, is following that same sort of franchise mentality where they just get these like track stars, and people are like, yeah, and it's not to say that those guys aren't talented riders, but I would venture to say that there are equally as many talented riders, you know, all over the world. But these guys got a break. But of course they had to cut their teeth in Moto3, Moto2, and then of course in the GP. But you know, it's a selective franchise. But so back to the whole concept of like, you know, Honda seems to be just kind of on the outside looking in, because I'm just pure. This is pure speculation. You know, with respect to what's going on there, but I mean, Honda seems to be building invincible bikes with like anyone can ride, and not just ride, but ride well. And you know, it's interesting because like if you watch Moto USA or Motorcycle News or MCN, like a lot of them have said the same thing about Hondas. It's just a very neutral bike, very easy, you know, to ride fast and ride well. So Honda seems to have has the formula, has some kind of formula, and of course this all comes from research and development and their engineers, but they just seem to like build you know, a great bike. And some people would contend a great bike that doesn't have any soul. You know, it's really strange. And as some of you have been following the MotoGP story, like particularly with Valentino Rossi, you know, Rossi didn't like that at all. Rossi, that like it really miffed him, something fierce. And he's like, because people were saying, oh, the only reason why you're winning races is because Honda's, you know, because of Honda. And Rossi was just like, you know, basically that really miffed him bad. And so he like, I don't know the whole story behind it, but this is just based on what I've read, and I'm sure that there's infinitely more back of the story that I'm not getting. But the gist of what I got, and you can go out there and read some of the articles for yourself and correct me if I'm wrong. But essentially, so Rossi decided to leave Honda because he didn't want to be thought of like, you know, oh, the only reason. He wanted to prove to the world that he could ride, and it wasn't just because of Honda. So of course he goes to Yamaha, and he's done quite well with Yamaha. And then he went on hiatus from them for about one season, was it 1 or 2 seasons, with Ducati, and just didn't do well at all. And as some of you know, follow that story, the whole Desmo Sedici thing and the whole frameless chassis concept or whatever, basically riders were, you know, kept begging Ducati, it's like, do something about this damn bike. And they were, you know, and then Ducati was like, now there must be something wrong with you. It's your fault. Why don't you go see a psychiatrist? It's all in your head, blah, blah, blah. And this is what they did with Rossi. This is what they did with Stoner. I'm sure they probably did it with Hayden and a host of other people. And I don't know if this was since Audi took over the franchise, the Ducati franchise, or not. But it's like the riders kept telling them, you got to build us a damn bike that can win. Because, yeah, I mean, it's a pretty bike, and the concept is like ooh ah and all this. It's a power company over there. But they're like, you know, the bike is garbage. There's no feeling, and they can't, you know, it's very difficult to ride at high speeds. And the complaints were all the same. No front end feel. There wasn't any feedback. They weren't getting proper feedback through the front end. So that was quite a bump. And so now, 2014, Ducati finally has a bike that not only has a frame. I don't know if they did this to piss people off deliberately. It's like, okay, you want a frame? We'll give you a frame. So what did they do? The factory, Ducati factory, now has this perimeter style frame, which is very common in metric bikes. And Ducati's whole thing, you know, from, gosh, almost the word go, was their beautiful tubular trellis frames. And it's like, a lot of people were you know, some people thought it was an inline 4, and they thought it was, you know, Japanese, yada, yada, yada. I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the first GP race of this year, they were actually leading a few laps, and I think Yamaha, and then of course Rossi, took a few laps too. But quite honestly, you know, back to this whole discussion about circuit races and MotoGP, WSBK, and of course the AMA. I'm really not feeling GP as much as I used to, and here's one of the reasons why. What do they have? 4 major manufacturers: Honda, Ducati, Yamaha, and those are really the only 3. I think there's one more, and I can't remember which manufacturer. Well, I know Aprilia is in there too, but I think that that's they're in the CRT or in like an auxiliary teams. But you know, Aprilia is in there somewhere, and I'm talking about GP, not WSBK. But I think some components are used in some of the like CRT bikes in GP. Now, having said all of that, it's like, well, I understand that Kawasaki and I know that Suzuki is definitely supposed to be coming back to MotoGP next year, and I think Kawasaki is maybe also have plans to be returning as well. But if you've only got 3 or 4 major manufacturers in a race, I mean, it's boring. Now, at least in World Superbike, you have Aprilia, BMW. Now you have BMW, Honda, Kawasaki, Suzuki, and now even Americans are in there now. Eric Buell, EBR. We got 2 bikes in there. Aaron Yates and Jeff May. Now that to me, that is interesting racing. And the other thing I like about World Superbike and AMA Pro is these are bikes you can walk into a dealership and essentially get a detuned version of these bikes that are raced on the track. And that's what like a lot of these sport bikes, super sports, leader bikes, whatever, I mean, that's what these bikes are really built for. They're built for the track. That's what they're purpose built for, the track. And you can walk into a dealership and you can buy one of these bikes. What do they say? Race on Sunday, you know, or win on Sunday and sell bikes on Monday, or something to that effect. But this is why I'm kind of like, and I'm starting to get into like dirt trackers, that kind of racing, and nakeds. And you know, even like Triumph has their Thruxton series. They have the Street Triple Series as well. And what I would like to see is, what to me would be really interesting racing is to have you know, a naked sport bike series to kind of like sort of give you back that like sort of old school feel.
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. More videos will be forthcoming.
Stickers are now available. Wouldn't it be nice to have me on your shiny